moderators out there this time because this is really off the cuff and just off the top of my head. So we're going to see what flies, see if we can get an hour out of this. I think we probably can. Hopefully, all is going well for you. All of you had a great Thanksgiving. I spent the day with my granddaughter earlier today. We were going to go swimming, got a little cold. We decided not to do that, to go back and forth between the pool with it being cold. We played in the condo. We watched Moana, and then we went out for lunch. So we had a good day hanging out with my granddaughter and my son. So anyway, I was going to tell you something that's kind of exciting. At least it's exciting to me. I've been on TikTok a long time. I've done the podcast for quite a while. Been on Facebook and Instagram. More recently on Threads. I started posting more and more on Threads. Now with some 400,000 followers on TikTok and whatever I have with the podcast, Instagram, and Facebook, I've never really noticed that anybody of any note followed me. Maybe some other creators do follow me, but I mean somebody famous, somebody flat out famous just following you. I remember when everybody was freaking out about Rosie O'Donnell following them. She doesn't follow me, and that's fine. But I got somebody famous today, and I'm pretty sure it's true. It's on Threads, not on TikTok, not on Facebook, not on Instagram, on Threads. And it appears to be Tatum O'Neal. Now, if you don't know who Tatum O'Neal is, you're not my age, because back in the day, she was of our vintage. She was kind of a young hottie. She was an Academy Award winner for her portrayal as a child in Paper Moon with her father, Ryan. So it was kind of cool. I saw this. She made a quick comment, and she was watching my videos, and apparently she's a fan now, a famous person. Go fucking figure. I'm excited about that. So anyway, for those in the live, we've got a few people out there now in the YouTube live. I do these kind of impromptu. And this particular time, I needed to put something together for the podcast for later tonight. And I thought, what the heck? Let's do a YouTube live. We had fun with it last time. And we'll see if we can't do the same here today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going on in this country since the election of Donald Trump. He is the president-elect, and people are freaking out, of course. And I just want to give you a tip and what to think about as we go forward. Every day, Donald Trump's not even president, and he'll say the craziest shit. This weirdo nominee, deportation this, tariffs that. And every time he does that, the Democrats clutch their pearls and hold their head and cry, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? He's going to overthrow our government. He's going to throw us into a recession. People freak out. And I will tell you this, I think that's the wrong reaction for a couple of reasons. First of all, Donald Trump doesn't think about what he says. He just pulls something out of his ass and says what he's going to say. And so most of what he says doesn't generally happen. Normally it doesn't happen because he's always talking way above his head. The other thing is he's a narcissist. Donald Trump is a narcissist, and narcissists really play on getting reactions and playing on people's emotions. He wants the adulation, and of course his far-right radical idiots, Trump-la-fucks and such, they're going to give him that adulation every fucking time. And when they give him that adulation, he thrives on that. He survives on that adulation. But there's the other side of this too. He likes to create chaos, and he likes to instill fear in the people he sees as going against him, right? I don't know why I'm not getting what's going on. Okay, there we go. Anyway, we had something jammed up here. Anyway, narcissists, what they like is attention. They like the adulation, but they also like to create the chaos and the fear. And every time he says something crazy, that's what he instills in Democrats. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What I'm going to suggest to you now is to not give him what he's demanding, what he's asking for. Don't give him the opportunity to create the chaos or the fear. When he says, well, I'm going to deport 18 million people, say, cool, when are you starting? Go ahead. Don't get riled up about this shit because when you do, you're giving him exactly what he wants. And besides that, his chances of actually doing that are pretty slim. It's going to crash the economy. It's going to be horrible optics. The Republicans, the people in his own in his own party don't want to do this. Language of horses. Good evening. We are doomed. Well, we have no time to listen to that shit. If you think we're doomed, then you curl up in a corner and die and wait for it all to be over. I refuse to believe that. There's always hope. There's always an angle, and we will find that. Oh, I was wondering when somebody was going to ask that. Why do you have two different types of earbuds? Well, this earbud is for YouTube. That earbud has to do with my computer because I'm also recording this for a podcast. I really don't need either one of them in except for prompts now and again. But I thought, I'm going to do this because some motherfucker's going to ask me about it. Tatum O'Neal from Ferris Bueller. No, she's not from Ferris Bueller. She's that vintage, but she's Ryan O'Neal's daughter. And she was in Paper Moon. She was in Little Foxes, that kind of stuff. There are bigger problems like my addiction to snow bunnies. Don't know what that means. And while I don't have a moderator here, I can block motherfuckers and get rid of people. And I've gotten rid of a few here. So good for that. Yeah, we got some dipshits out there. Let's see if we can actually get some people of a reasonable mind, of a like mind, somebody that has some intelligent questions to talk about. If not, I can just talk for an hour or two because I'm not necessarily offering up quality, but I can suck up some time. I can suck up some fucking I can suck up some oxygen. Anyway. So what I'm saying about Donald Trump is somebody who likes the attention, whether it be positive or negative. He thrives on that. If the right-wing fucks want to give him that kind of attention, let it go. Let them do it. It's going to happen no matter what. They're stupid as fuck, and that's just what they're going to do. But don't let him rile you up like this person saying we are doomed. Really? How old are you? I grew up in the 60s. There were people that said we were doomed back then, but somehow we made it through. Got to the 70s. I was in my teenage years. I had a pretty fucking good time in the 70s. No, we're not doomed. Now, Tiger says Poland. You're from Poland? I don't know what that means. We can get some more people talking in here, though, because it'll make it a lot easier for me to do this thing. So anyway, don't give Donald Trump what he's desiring. Don't let him thrive on chaos and fear. We're not afraid of that motherfucker. He's done nothing but fail his entire life, and to think something else different than that is going to happen this time around is absolutely silly. You know, I don't know if my thing is working all that well in terms of the lives and stuff. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe it's because it's this time of the day. Given this time of the day that it is, maybe we don't have as many people out there. We do have fewer people than we normally do. But I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We're on Black Friday now. I don't know if that means people are out shopping or at this stage of the game, people are just potentially doing everything online. I know we have a lot of malls out here in Minnesota, and a lot of them are looking like ghost towns these days because everybody's shopping online. I want to talk a little bit about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy too. We keep hearing all the things that they want to do, all the cuts they want to make. And once again, people are frightened to death about what they have to say. But the important thing that you have to remember about what they are and who they are is they were named co-chairs of a department that doesn't exist, the Department of Efficiency and Government Efficiency. That's what they were named to. But that department does not exist. It never existed, never will exist, because a president can't step up and be president of the United States and say, hey, we got a new department. That's got to go through Congress, and that's got to be funded, and there's got to be all kinds of things set up. They're essentially this little club sitting outside government that are supposed to be um, consulting with or counseling with actual departments in Congress or just in the cabinet as well. But here's the deal. Elon Musk isn't well liked. He's an arrogant narcissist himself. People are put off by the toes he steps on. So, do you think these members of Congress, whether they be Republican or Democrat, really give a shit? I mean, do you think they really care if um, Elon Musk has a point of view? Especially when the things that he and Vivek Ramaswamy are talking about are relatively dangerous to this country. I personally think those people in Congress are going to say, fuck you, Elon, go away. You don't have a real job. We don't need to listen to your shit. And if Donald Trump says you've got to listen to them, I think Donald Trump's going to get some that kind of pushback too. Some of the things Donald Trump wants to talk about, say the deportations, that's horrible optics. That's not going to be good for the Republican Party. Any reasonable Republican senator or member of the House isn't going to agree with that. Keep in mind that the Republicans have a very slight margin in the House, even less of a margin than they had this last term. And how much did they get done? Anything they got done, they had to have help of the Democrats. So, in fact, the Democrats do have some power in the House of Representatives. There's a little bigger margin in the Senate, of course. The Republicans have like a 3-seat margin, and that's substantial, and that could be costly in a simple majority vote. But remember, the Democrats have the advantage the Republicans had in the last term. That one thing we fucking all hate, we're going to learn to love in this term, and that is the filibuster. Now, there's some things carved out of the filibuster, like appointing judges and stuff. You only need the simple majority, but a lot of the things are going to need a 60-seat vote. Now, keep in mind, it's like 53 to 47. So the only way they could pass something is to get 7 Democrats to vote with them. What do you think the odds of that are? It's just not going to fucking happen. So we need to do kind of what the Republicans did the last 4 years. Every time they come up with something crazy, just obstruct the fuck out of it. Obstruct it in the House, obstruct it in the Senate, and just keep pushing it back. And when that doesn't work, you file lawsuits and put it in court. The problem with it is nothing gets done. But the only thing the Republicans want to do is a bunch of bullshit. So we don't want that. We don't need that shit. But hopefully that's what they're thinking about. We have enough smart people amongst the Democrats in the Senate and such that they will they will be doing what they have to do to shut things down. Everybody's terrified of the tariffs. That's an interesting thing. Did you see what Donald Trump did the other day? Donald Trump talks about the tariffs, imposing 25% tariffs on the Mexico and Canada, which makes no sense because we get a lot of oil out of Canada, and that would just raise gas prices, the exact opposite about what Donald Trump said he would do. And then in Mexico, we get a lot of vehicles. Did you know that 16 out of every 100 cars sold in this country is made in Mexico? And a lot of the car parts and such, they come out of Mexico too. So if you drive a vehicle, the cars are going to be more expensive, the repairs are going to be more expensive, and the gas is going to be more expensive. Who do you think is going to go along with that in the Republican Party? And how do you think people will respond when that happens? Well, Donald Trump keeps talking about these tariffs like he's a tough guy. But as I've said before, that's all Donald Trump does. He talks out his ass. He says the most outrageous things, hoping that you'll demur and step back and give him his way. Well, he ran into trouble in Mexico because President Sheinbaum, a woman in Mexico, wasn't standing for that shit. So knowing that he's not going to be able to do these tariffs, he goes and calls her and has a little conversation. then comes back and lies about the conversation. Said, I talked to President Scheinbaum. It was a nice conversation, and she's decided to close down the border and do all these things. So I guess we win. I guess we don't need tariffs. Well, President Scheinbaum came back and said, yeah, that's not how it went. Nothing has changed. It's all the same thing. We've always been working on keeping people from the border, and we haven't seen a caravan in like 3 or 4 years. So obviously it's working. I haven't heard of anything in terms of a retort by Donald Trump being outed for being a liar, but that happens so often. I think he's maybe just fucking used to it at this point. Yeah, we've got nobody asking questions here. Is anybody out there asking questions? Is this operating wrong? Is something going on with the live? I don't fucking know, but I will keep talking. We've got. We've got even people, the funny thing is when Donald Trump says, I'm going to do tariffs, it's going to bring down prices, we're going to make China and Mexico and Canada pay, and nobody on the Republican side said, hey, that's a dumb idea. That's fucking stupid. They just went along because all they cared about at this point was for Donald Trump to win the presidency. Now that he's won the presidency, you're seeing people reacting a little differently. They're being a little more, I don't know, a little more cautious about some of the things he says. Like, for example, Fox News, Julie Banderas on Thursday predicted a wild ride for Americans with rising product prices if President-elect Donald Trump follows through with his tariffs. Imagine that. Prices might go up if he imposes tariffs. I mean, who fucking knew? Well, we all knew. The Republicans all knew. They just refused to talk about it. They had to be careful because they got exactly what they asked for, and I don't understand it. When it came to the tariffs, all the wealthy countries, all the wealthy companies stood behind Donald Trump, and now that they got what they wanted. Now they're saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, that's not going to be good. Did they think they would get him in and then somehow they would be able to manipulate him to stop him from doing it? Well, maybe they can, but that seems like about a lot of unnecessary work if you would have just not voted for him in the first place. What this is all about is about tax breaks. That's really all they're talking about. Donald Trump right now is talking about like a $4 trillion tax break. Who do you suppose is going to pay for that? The fucking deep state? I don't think so. Who's going to pay for that is us. A lot of people like to talk about the tax break in his first term. He gave $2 trillion in a tax break to the wealthy, people who don't need the money. He gave us just a little bit of crumbs. But the key difference in what happened in that tax cut was this. They got the $2 trillion tax break in perpetuity. We got it just for a short time. In fact, those tax breaks are now gone, and that's why you're seeing your tax bill become higher. Because Donald Trump lied or didn't tell you the whole truth. He said, you're getting a tax break, you'll make more money than ever, which you did. And then, of course, it ends during Joe Biden's term, and then they say it's Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden didn't get a chance to institute any real tax laws because of what Donald Trump and the Republicans were doing to obstruct him. Everything you're feeling in terms of taxes, that's because of Donald Trump, and fuck Donald Trump. It's just, the ignorance is absolutely amazing to me that this is what these people think. The other thing I found that was kind of funny was after he was elected, they started talking about the tariffs and how they would raise prices. Donald Trump or people around Donald Trump said, yeah, it'll raise prices. Like that was their intention in the first place. Had you told people the truth during the election that, yeah, your prices are going to go up, but we're going to fix it in the long run. Had you done that, you would have never gotten elected. But of course, that amongst the cheating and the fucking around, you did whatever it took to get elected. Now, I understand that. That's how people are. I want to win. I'll do whatever it takes, even if that means lying to the general public, because that's exactly what they did. They lied to the general public. And worst of all, the general public bought it. They believed it. They said, fuck it, I believe it. I'm still trying to see. We're still not getting questions on YouTube Live. That's weird. I don't know if we're getting something that's working wrong on YouTube or not. I mean, that's all right. We can keep going and keep talking, and we can do the things that we're going to do anyway. But I know if there's people out there with questions, I like to hear them. We've got a few people listening, but I haven't seen any questions. So if I'm not answering your questions, not my fault. Fucking YouTube. So we'll try to get that fixed if I can, but I'm the only one here. So if it's going to get fixed, it's going to get fixed by me, and I haven't a motherfucking clue as to what's going on. I hope, this Friday, this Black Friday that we're in the middle of right now, it's kind of a weird time. I always remembered it when I was in business. I always hated the time between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, because during that time, a lot of people are on vacations, a lot of people aren't doing anything. It all sits very stagnant. To a certain extent, that's very relaxing. But it's hard to get things done, and it's hard to know what people are doing. Like normally, I would have Ed on the show today, and Ed's not going to be with us this week, and it's not Ed's fault this time. When I would normally do it, I was with my granddaughter, and I'm sorry, my granddaughter takes priority over everybody, fucking everybody. So we spent some time with her. So here I am doing this. Okay. I think we disconnected. Now we're reconnecting, and we'll see if that changes anything with regards to the questions. For those on the Rational Boomer podcast, this is kind of a impromptu podcast, and I apologize for that, but timing wasn't working out right, and I didn't want to leave you empty-handed, so I thought I'd do something half-ass. Nice, huh? It's kind of half-ass, but I feel a responsibility to be here when you expect me to be here, so here we are. And it's interesting, this Friday is Black Friday, and not much going on in the news because everybody's off, everybody's on break and doing all that stuff. I will say this, though, Congress is coming back next week, and this is going to be this term's Congress, where we have control of the Senate, the Democrats, and we are slightly below the margin in the House of Representatives. There is still some room to get some things done, and the question is that something that Joe Biden's going to do? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. Joe's kind of old school. There's a lot of underhanded or slippery or backdoor things he could do, but I don't know that it's in his mindset to do that sort of thing. He's old school. He likes to play politics the way politics are meant to be played. He is one of the smarter politicians on Capitol Hill these days because of his experience. But he's also kind of controlled by the norms, which is weird because Donald Trump is not controlled by norms. I think a lot of people were controlled by norms for a long time until Donald Trump started walking all over them. And since that time, Donald Trump doesn't even consider norms. He doesn't do it. He does whatever the fuck he wants, and then he's one of those guys that he's more apt to ask for forgiveness than he would permission. But he doesn't even ask for forgiveness anymore. He just does whatever he does, and if he gets pushed back, he either changes up or just doubles down. That's the fucking thing. You know, I was talking about one of the things Donald Trump wants to do is basically purge federal employees. He thinks we waste too much money on federal employees. He thinks that's where the deep state is. And because of that, he wants to scatter them to the winds, hire people that might be more amenable to Donald Trump and the Trump-la-fucks. The only problem with that is one of the things he wants to do too is take some of the departments and move them out of Washington, D.C. He thinks that will help get rid of the deep state. And for the life of me, I don't know what the fucking deep state actually is. I have no clue what it is. Nobody's ever introduced me to somebody who's in the deep state. I've been accused of being in the deep state, but two reasons I'm not in the deep state. There isn't such a thing, and I don't join clubs. Even if the deep state said to me, Mike, come on and join us, I'd say, fuck yourself. I'm a lone gun here. I don't want to be in any group or any clubs because then I have to listen to other people, and I'm just not very good at listening to other people. But a lot of people don't remember that back in Donald Trump's first term, he had that same kind of mindset. He was trying to break down the deep state. He wanted to move some departments out of Washington, D.C. And he did that. Excuse me, just getting over a cold. But he did that. He took the Bureau of Land Management out of Washington, D.C. and put it in Colorado. What's that supposed to fucking do? All it did is kind of convolute shit, make it more difficult to get things done. They were less effective. They offered less services to the people. And see, that's the essence of Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't about getting things done. None of the Republicans are even like that. Everything they do is for show, for perception. Make them look tough or make them owning the libtards, if you will. That's what they would have done. And so, in doing so, there is no productivity out of these things. So he took this Bureau of Land Management, put it in Colorado, and then it was a fucking mess. Nobody knew what they were doing. Nothing really got done. And that's the essence of Donald Trump. And this is one of the reasons I don't worry about Donald Trump being president. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. I might have a little concern about it. But if we go back into the period of time when he was president, 2017 to 2021, what did he actually get done? He talked about deportations back then. He ended up deporting 1.5 million people. Sounds like a lot of people. Well, funny thing is, Obama in his first term deported 1.9 million and then 1.6 in his second term. Donald Trump loves to talk a game, but he doesn't really have the ability to come through. He doesn't plan things out. He doesn't really have strategies. Something comes out his ass, through his head, out his mouth, and it just sits there. No idea as to how to put it together or what to do. And I think we're going to see a lot of that when Donald Trump is president this time around. I think it's going to be a vastly different situation than what we had in the first time around. I've said this many times before. I'll say it again because I'm a redundant motherfucker. But here's the deal. Donald Trump, when he was in his first term, they had to stick close by him, stand up for him because they wanted him to win re-election in 2020. Now, when that didn't happen and now he runs again in 2024 and wins, it's a much different situation. First of all, he's a lame duck. He can't run again. People will say, oh, he'll find a way to stay in office. No, he won't. There's a 22nd Amendment that says he cannot run for office again. You want to change an amendment? That's a pretty lengthy process. Donald Trump doesn't have the wherewithal, the time, or even the standing to do such a thing. So that's not going to happen. He's not going to be back in office after 2024. I'll be surprised if he makes it to 2024, to be perfectly honest. But once he was elected president, the Republicans pretty much got everything they needed out of him. They wrung that motherfucker out. There's nothing more he can offer but embarrassment and problems for the Republican Party. So they put him in there, and they're going to push back against everything he does. They're not afraid of him anymore because there's nothing he can really do at this point to hurt them. He's done enough. So when he gets in there, he's incompetent, he's stupid, and he's not going to have as much support as he's going to need to get some things done. He's just not going to be able to do it. So I'm not as worried about him. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not as worried about him being in office. It could be a lot worse. It could be somebody with the ideology that Donald Trump has that is smart and dangerous and puts together a serious strong team. He's not doing any of those things. He doesn't have that capability. So we at least have that going for us. What I'm really interested in is this dynamic between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Elon Musk is getting pretty full of himself right now. I think he thinks of himself as a co-president. And that's not going to last very well for this fucking clown. That's just not going to happen. He's got another narcissist to contend with, that being Donald Trump. And if Elon Musk starts getting too much attention, we know what happens there. They get their ass booted out and discarded and discredited. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens to Elon Musk. The one advantage Musk has is that he's the richest guy in the world, and Donald Trump loves fucking money. But he can only take so much. Two narcissists can't coexist in one space for very long. So I have a strategy. We need to start paying more attention to Elon Musk. Oh, Elon's rich. Oh, Elon's co-president. Get that out there a couple times. Say, Elon's co-president with Donald Trump. That motherfucker will be hitting the bricks so goddamn fast you won't believe it. Donald Trump will not tolerate that. Donald Trump is not opposed to using people either. And I think when you look at what's going on with him and Elon Musk, Donald Trump is using him. Now, of course, Elon Musk is using Trump too for the perception of power. But Donald Trump wants to keep his finger on the pulse of money as long as he can. But even money isn't enough to sate his ego if Elon Musk is stepping on his toes. This is interesting. Elon Musk had a seat at the family table for Thanksgiving dinner at Mar-a-Lago. He was there with Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and their 18-year-old son, Barron, in the latest indicator of Trump's growing bond with the world's richest men. Now, let's think about that. You're going to Thanksgiving. You got your wife, who doesn't talk to you, who doesn't show up for you. You got his 18-year-old son, Barron. We don't know much about him. Everything I've heard, a little weird. But you wouldn't expect anything less, having grown up with Donald Trump and Melania Trump as their kid, or as his parents. And then there's Elon Musk. Where's Don Jr.? Where's Eric and his wife? Where's Kimberly Guilfoyle? Where's Ivanka and Jared Kushner and all his wonderful grandkids that he loves so fucking much? That sounds kind of lonely, doesn't it? And I think that's one of the problems Donald Trump has. He's a little lonely at this point. A lot of people have stepped away from him. Some people might try to come back now that he's president because he represents a certain amount of power. But the amount of damage he can do to somebody is pretty significant. Donald Trump's 78 years old. He's going to be dead soon. I'm not trying to be inappropriate or insensitive. He's 78. He's not healthy of mind. He's not healthy of body. He's got a lot of people that hate him. Things could go wrong very quickly for Donald Trump. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's sometime within the next 2 years. Just listening to him talk, he hasn't gotten any more cognitive since he won the election. He's still goofy and talking about shit out his ass, and nobody knows what the fuck he's talking about. But I just find it weird that only his son and wife showed up at Thanksgiving. I mean, you're president-elect. It's kind of cool if your dad's president-elect and you're going to go have the Thanksgiving dinner with him. But they were all too fucking busy. They had other shit to do. That is the life that is Donald Trump's, and that is going to get worse as time goes on. I've said this before. Donald Trump is incompetent. He's stupid. He's an absolute joke. There's two things we can do as Democrats going forward with Donald Trump and the Republicans in the Congress. As I said earlier, we got to do the same things that they did. We've got to obstruct and push back and go to court and delay everything. They've essentially got 2 years to do something because by the 2026 midterms, by then, it's going to be very hard for the Republicans to hold on to the House and the Senate. They're going to lose at least one of them, maybe both of them. And when that happens, that pretty much makes Donald Trump as a president impotent. All he's got is Democrats that can bring stuff to him. I don't think he's going to like that too much. He's not going to be too happy with what he's going to see coming out of Congress. There's going to be nothing that he particularly likes coming out of that. We've got we're going to see Donald Trump kind of squirming around quite a bit. He thinks he can go in there and be king, and he has less of a chance of that this time around than he does before. Now, I'm not trying to make it all sunny and shit and say, oh, it's going to be wonderful, because it's not going to be wonderful. There are people that are going to be hurt by some of the things that Donald Trump does. And it's unfortunate. We really have no way around it. Anything he's allowed to do is going to be harmful to this country and harmful to the oh, okay. I got to bring this up. We were talking about the dinner. Well, I'll just tell you right now. I'm looking at this, and I didn't realize this. I was talking about Thanksgiving dinner with Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Barron Trump, and Elon Musk. Elon's a little weird. Remember when Tim Walz said they're weird? Well, Elon Musk is the essence of fucking weird. There's no question about it. He's the essence of weird. And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this video, and I got it going in my left ear. And while they're at this dinner, it's actually a lot of people at this dinner, but at the table, it's just those folks with Elon. It's at the White House. And they start playing YMCA. And Musk is dancing to YMCA. Wow. Do they know the Village People was a group of mostly gay folks? I mean, they were a great group. I love YMCA, but Donald Trump has absolutely ruined that song for me. I was young in my prime at that point, so YMCA was a big song at clubs and stuff like that. Now every time I hear it, I just see that orange fucking puckered face every goddamn time. I can't listen to the song anymore. So they're at this Thanksgiving dinner, a bunch of adoring crowd around him, as is normally the case at Mar-a-Lago. But at the table, Barron, Melania, Donald, and Elon. They play YMCA, and Elon is dancing to YMCA. Here's a guy that's talking shit about transgender folks, yet he's dancing to YMCA. There's something off about Elon Musk. I don't know if he has some sort of affliction that causes him to be like that, but he is certainly the essence of weird. And he's an evil kind of weird, too. He's also an arrogant kind of weird. I heard somebody make a quote recently that said that everybody thinks he's so brilliant, that he's a genius. And he says, I think of him more as a guy with a 97 IQ catering to and being followed by a bunch of people with an 85 IQ. And I think that's probably a good example. Now, Donald Trump is less than 97%. And I think most of the people that follow Donald Trump are usually in their 70s in terms of IQ. I want to remind folks, if you're on the live, to make sure you check out the Rational Boomer podcast on YouTube. You see the TikToks I do because I put them on YouTube. I also do the podcast. That is on YouTube. That's usually an hour to hour and a half. Many times I have guests. A lot of times I have emails. And I like to get input from people throughout the audience. Now, for whatever reasons, I'm getting 0 questions on YouTube. If you're sending questions, just understand I don't see them. I would be happy to answer them. But I'm getting none. I did an email show yesterday. I got a couple of emails in today. This one comes from Judy, who is from Australia. She says, "Hi, Mike. Maybe Trump's idea of removing overtime came from Australia. Yeah, he wanted to get rid of overtime, but he's telling people he's not going to tax for overtime. Real easy to take taxes off of overtime if you hope to get rid of it altogether." She goes on to say, "A case was settled this week where Australian pub workers were paid for a 38-hour work week while being required to work at least 50 hours a week, but not paid any overtime. Workers employed by the company between December 2013 and December 2019 shared in the $19.25 million lawsuit settlement in Sydney. 2,895 people registered to take part in the settlement, but it took 5 years in the court. So good luck, USA." Judy in Australia. Now, there's going to be a come to Jesus moment after Donald Trump leaves office, after he does the fucked up things that he does, because people are going to end up paying a price, especially those Republicans that supported him. As I've said before, apparently we need to let people have the opportunity to fuck around and find out, let them get spanked before they actually do something intelligent and get rid of Donald Trump and MAGA. It's very frustrating to know that there's 49% of this country that still support Donald Trump in spite of all we've seen and heard. It doesn't say a lot about the intelligence or the decency of a lot of folks. All right, here's another email. It comes from John, this time in London. He says, "Hi, Mike. As a fellow boomer living in the UK, I've been a long-time listener to your podcast and TikToks. Thankfully, we recently elected the Labour Party in a landslide after 14 years of disastrous conservative mismanagement of the country and the economy. They were also the architects of Brexit in 2016, arguably the most damaging self-inflicted wound the UK has ever endured. Like you, I fully expect the USA to see sense and select Kamala Harris, but sadly that didn't happen. It feels like the time has come for Democrats and other progressive voices in the US to stop holding back and adopt a much tougher stance. The Trump movement thrives on bullying, and bullies only respect strength, something they never truly seen from the US left. Your tone and approach are exactly what's needed, and I hope others will follow your example. Keep up the good work. Great work, John." And John, I agree with that completely. You know, we've tried to take the high road. We try to be the nice guys. We tried to do the things that are right and decent. But John's absolutely right. We're dealing with bullies here, and they aren't the sharpest people in the world. And because they aren't the sharpest people in the world, they don't understand decency. They do understand strength. And that's what we're going to have to do. As much as it might be distasteful for a lot of people to do that, it's something we really have to do. As I've said, we've got to obstruct them in every way we can in Congress. That goes without saying. But instead of crying and whining about all the things they're claiming and all the threats they make, we got to punch back. We really do. This is the only thing that's going to make them understand. We've got to make sure they grasp the responsibility that they've taken on. They fought like hell to try to be a tough guy and win the election. Now they've won the election, and now I feel like they're walking around going, "Well, now what the fuck? We got the presidency, we got the House, we got the Senate. Now we've got to accomplish something." And what we've seen out of the Republicans over the past 4 years, they aren't big on accomplishing things. They just don't do it. Even when they have the opportunity, they'd rather fuck around. Donald Trump will spend 300 days a year out playing golf. He doesn't want to govern. He doesn't know what the fuck to do. He hires a bunch of goofy ass people and hopes to God they do something. And if something comes out good, he says, "That was mine." If it comes out badly, he fires somebody because it's on somebody else's head. And I think John's exactly right. I thought to myself, after the election, I thought, what the fuck do I do now? Honestly, I believed that after November 5th, when Kamala won, because I felt pretty confident that she'd win, I could probably pull it back a little bit. I'd still kick Donald Trump's ass through all his trials and tribulations, but it would be all in good fun. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Donald Trump, this dumb motherfucker over here. But then he goes and wins. Unbelievably so. So what to do now? Do I do the same thing I've been doing up to this point? Well, I kind of have to because I don't know how to do anything else. Whenever I'm posed with a problem, I look at it and decide what the best angle around it is. If that problem comes to pass and I was wrong, I just step back and say, okay, that was that. Now what do we do next? And that's kind of where we are now. We know the Republicans won the 2024 presidential election. They won the House and they won the Senate. So how, in fact, did they do that? Well, I just told you, John just told you, they obstructed, they stopped the Democrats from doing everything, including the bipartisan border bill, and then they blamed them for the border problems. You see what I mean? And it seems like we've got to employ that same kind of attitude. We've got to get in their faces, embarrass them when we can, expose them when we can, and just keep pounding on them like the Republicans did to the Democrats. Like I say, that sounds distasteful, but motherfucker, it worked. It worked. They won the election. So maybe we should adopt that same policy, that same tactic. And I'm actually looking forward to it. If all I have to do is sit back here and take pot shots at Donald Trump and point out how he's stupid and how he's wrong and how he failed and what he's done to this country, if that's all I have to do every fucking day, I'm ready, man. I enjoy that kind of shit. I love a little confrontation. I'm not shy about telling somebody they're stupid. So this will be kind of interesting for the next whatever time Donald Trump is going to be around. But John's exactly right. We've taken the high road too long. We've got to be tough too. We've got to put them in our places. If you've ever dealt with a bully in your life, you know that they will come up to you, rant, rave, threaten. And when you back down, that's how they win. That's how they survive. If you don't back down right away, they just ramp it up and get tougher and crazier and make worse threats. It isn't until you slap the taste out of their mouth that they say, oh, hold on, you're being mean. And then they become the victim and they run away. So if that's what it's going to take, regardless of how distasteful it is, well, then motherfucker, we better do it. Now, I don't know how other people feel about it, how other creators would handle this situation, but I know what I'm going to do. Every time I see something stupid, I'm going to scream it from the mountaintops and hope all of you grasp it too and start passing it along. I can scream as much as I want, but without the people in the audience, I can't get any of that shit done. I can get none of it done. So I need your help. I'll tell you about the things where he's failed, like with this tariff thing, and how he says he worked out a deal with the president from Mexico, and then she comes out and says, no, you didn't. That's the typical stupid shit that Donald Trump does, and that needs to be put out there and exposed. Maybe we get the mainstream media to finally jump on board and do the right thing. I'm not counting on that. That's not their style. But if we keep talking about it, the people of this country, the people that should have the power in this country, have one huge power, and that is the power of public opinion. Donald Trump did a lot of things, and he made sure through Fox News that they only heard what they wanted him or what he wanted them to hear. We've got to force them to hear. We've got to be so loud that they can't fucking miss it. And when they do hear it, they're going to have to respond to it. They're going to have to say something or at least consider it. I got one other email here from Judy in Australia. Sounds like I only get emails from people overseas. I get a lot of emails from all over the country, overseas and such. I just did an email show yesterday, so I've caught up on most of the emails. These are ones that just came in today. This one from Judy again in Australia. She says, hi, Mike, more Aussie news. Australian officials have banned Candace Owens. I like that. Never understood Candace Owens. She talks like a Trumplefuck. She's an African American. The white racist Republicans don't really like her. They use her for what they can get from her. And she's betraying good people, Democratic people, African American people, and they hate her too. How does a woman like this get a platform unless it's just the dumb white fucks that say, see, we like black people, we like Candace Owens? That's probably what it is. Goes on to say our immigration minister, Tony Burke, banned Candace Owens from coming here as she has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction, citing her remarks about the Holocaust and about Muslims. She's against BLM, feminism, vaccines, and immigration. Oh, she sounds like a smart one. The tickets for her speaking engagements are still on sale on the website. Should be interesting. Judy from Australia. So she was going to come to Australia to give a talk, and the country of Australia said, "Yeah, don't bother. We don't need you. We don't need you coming here." I often wonder what's going to happen to all these people that followed Donald Trump. You know, people that are younger, like the Candace Owens, like the I'm trying to think of other names. We know what's going to happen to Alex Jones. He's going to be broke as a bitch, and he's going to be walking the streets trying to do YouTube on a fucking old flip phone. But these people are going to have to live lives after the fact. You know, it's bad enough leading up to the election that you supported Donald Trump. But now they're going to have one more problem, and that problem is this. Donald Trump is a dipshit. He's a criminal. That goes without saying. But now Donald Trump's going to get another chance. He's going to fail miserably, as he fails miserably with everything he does. He's going to fuck up the economy. He's going to have this horrific reputation from deporting people and all this shit. And now these people are going to have to step away from that inevitably. Because the end is within our sights when it comes to Donald Trump. Very worst case, 4 years from now, he's gone, forgotten, nobody cares. But at his age, his physical condition, I don't know that he survives 2 years. At least I'm hoping that's not the case. And so when he goes on to the big beyond, what are these people going to do? Are they going to replace him with somebody else? They really can't. First of all, it would be stupid to do that. Second of all, they've got really nobody to fit that bill. I think it's going to be J.D. Vance. No, J.D. Vance could never replace Donald Trump in terms of the divisive piece of shit he is. I mean, don't get me wrong, J.D. Vance is a piece of shit. There's no question about it. But I personally think that the Republicans would rather have J.D. Vance in there than Donald Trump. And the very simple reason is that they can't control Donald Trump. He's got nothing to lose at this point. He can say and do any of the wildest shit he wants to do, whether it hurts the Republicans or helps the Republicans. And that's a dangerous situation to have somebody in, especially when you're the Republicans who like to control everything. I'm thinking of Mitch McConnell particularly. So personally, I think they want to see J.D. Vance as president as quickly as possible. People will say to me, well, that's not much better. He's a weirdo too. Well, we don't know how big a weirdo he is really because he keeps flip-flopping. One minute he tells us Donald Trump is Hitler. The next minute he's sidling up to him and becoming vice president of the United States. Sounds like this fucking clown does whatever he has to do to gain power and money and that sort of thing. Now, if somehow Donald Trump were to step aside, not survive, and J.D. Vance became the president, as much as he's a dipshit, as much as he's an asshole, I think we'd be safer with him in there. Because now all of a sudden J.D. Vance has something to lose. The Republicans have a chance to redeem themselves, to try to make them seem at least a little bit normal. And they'll still do the crazy stuff they want to do it, but it won't be so fucking scattered like it is with Donald Trump. And people like Mitch McConnell and members of the Senate and members of the House and the Republican Party will be able to control J.D. Vance. They'll have him do some crazy stuff, but not the crazy stuff that Donald Trump has done or wants to do. So I think that ultimately Donald Trump will be president for a time. I don't think he'll be there for the 4 years, one way or another. You know, some of the things he's doing are already skirting the law. And if the Republicans want an excuse to impeach him, I know that sounds crazy to you, but think about this. If they want to impeach him, they'll find something to impeach him with, and they have the majority in the Senate so they can convict him as well. They will need to get rid of him somehow, otherwise, he's going to completely burn down the Republican Party. Some might think that he's already done that, but I don't think the Republicans believe that. I think that they feel like they can be redeemed, try to settle things down, and become a more normal party so they have any chance of even competing in 2028. But in order to do that, they're going to have to get rid of Donald Trump. Everything Donald Trump does, everything he says, every horrific thing he's involved in is going to stick on the Republicans like nobody's fucking business. So I really think Donald Trump is not going to be in office very long. And when I say not very long, not past 2 years, probably before 2 years, because they're going to be looking at the um, midterms very seriously. If things go south with the economy and Donald Trump is an embarrassment, the Republicans could lose the House and the Senate very easily. It's that close. And if they do that, that basically means the next 2 years they accomplish nothing. They want that midterm election almost as much as they wanted Donald Trump to win the presidency. Not only do they want it, they need it in order to continue to progress with their agenda. And it's not going to look too good if Donald Trump has crashed the economy. That seems to be the one thing that is most important to people. It's not overturning Roe v. Wade. It's not being racist, misogynistic, or anti Semitic. They don't care about that. They don't care about abortion. What they do care is about the bottom line. And we already know that what Donald Trump wants to do with tariffs is going to fuck up the bottom line for the vast majority of the people in this country. And that's not going to bode well coming up in the midterm. So what are the Republicans to do? That's why I'm saying common sense only suggests that since Donald Trump is now a liability, get him inaugurated, get him in office, get whatever control you can get, and then get him to move on fucking down the line. Now, somebody suggested that he'd resign, J.D. Vance would pardon him. And that's all well and good with federal crimes, like Jack Smith's crimes in Washington, D.C. and in Florida. Theoretically, J.D. Vance could pardon him. Now, people will say, well, it's already been dismissed. Yes, that's true. And probably nothing will come out of it with Donald Trump, sadly to say. But they were dismissed with prejudice. And what that means essentially is that at some point down the road, they could bring this back up and follow through with the charges. Like I say, you've got statute of limitations, you got all those sorts of things, and it's not like they're not likely to do anything at that point. They'll just be so goddamn glad to be rid of Donald Trump, they'll just kick him out the door and forget about everything else. But J.D. Vance or Donald Trump can't pardon Donald Trump from the 34 convictions in the Manhattan district. Now, they did try to make a motion to dismiss that because Donald Trump won the presidency. And unfortunately for Donald Trump, that's not how shit works. You were convicted. You will now and forever be a convicted felon, no matter what the fuck you say. The one thing that could be done with that conviction, and I was hoping for something better, but what they could do is delay the sentencing until after Donald Trump is out of office. Now, intellectually, you'll say, well, that will be in January of 2029. Theoretically, if he lives out and serves out his 4 years as president, but if somehow he ends up leaving the office in 6 months, a year, 2 years, then he's going to be sentenced and he's going to have nothing protecting him. So at this point, there has been no dismissal in the Manhattan District case, thankfully for that. And he can't pardon himself from Georgia either. Now, Georgia, we don't know what the fuck is going on there. All the claims about Fani Willis, they're still waiting to see if she's okay to continue, which is absolutely silly. But that Georgia case, he can't be pardoned away from it unless the governor of Georgia does that. So Donald Trump still has some legal issues hanging over his head. He has protections while he's president, which is frustrating in its own right. I mean, Jesus Christ, they keep telling us no one's above the law. Well, that's clearly a lie. Donald Trump is above the law, has always been. All these crimes we are hearing about now, he's been doing these crimes for 50 years. The question is, why have they never been brought up on charges against Donald Trump over those 50 years? And I'll tell you what that is. That's money and fame. If you've got it, you got a free ride to do whatever the fuck you want. Now, if you're you or me, we're going to motherfucking jail. This is one of the big problems in this country, the inequity of the laws. No one's supposed to be above the law except if you're rich and famous. Then you can be above the law. That's certainly not fair. That's not what the Constitution says, and it's absolutely bullshit. And that's where Donald Trump has been for quite a while. You know, riding this wave of just slipping in and out of these things, delaying, diverting, distracting, doing all those things. There will come a time where he'll either be dead or out of jail and completely vulnerable. I'd hope that that time was now, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's not. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see how it continues. I can just tell you this, with narcissists, it never ends well. This may be taking longer than we expected, but this will not end well for Donald Trump. Donald Trump will not do. And when he's finally gone, don't be surprised if he dies alone, because that's usually how it goes with narcissists. All right. We're going to end up the live. I'm not sure what went on here. I saw no questions, just a few. Thank you for joining me if you've been here. I appreciate it, and we'll do another live, and hopefully we'll get it fixed in such a way where I can address the questions you have for me. So you have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.